Hello students, welcome to today's class. Today we're gonna finish the unit number 1 of our book. So please open your book, your reading and writing book. Alright, so over here we have the topic of synonyms. Let's see. And here we have writers regularly use synonyms in their writing to avoid repetitions of words. Some synonyms mean exactly the same thing. So we have some synonyms that have the same meaning. For example, some people choose to spend a lot of time with relations, whereas others prefer not to see relatives so frequently. In this case, relatives and relations mean the same. They have the same thing. But in some other occasions, synonyms don't have exactly the same meaning. They just have a similar meaning. It's not exactly the same, but it is similar, like over here. For people who can no longer get out to see friends, pets can be very good companions, all right? In this case, we're using some, instead of saying pets can be very good friends, we're using the word companions, even though that they don't have the same exact same meaning, they have a similar meaning. Then, some synonyms have a different level of formality. Okay, so there are some words that they have the same meaning, but one word is more formal or less formal than the other. For example, some young people choose to spend time in virtual chat rooms. They often hang out at the mall as well. Hang out is to spend time to do something, but hang out it is more informal than spend time. Spend time is more formal. Even though they have the same meaning, this is more formal than this, right? Very good. Now, here in the exercise 1, we have match the synonyms 1 to 10 with A to G. Find them in our online friends as threat to development. This is the lecture from the previous page to help you. Use the paragraph number in parentheses, all right? So here we have these words and that are in these paragraphs. These three words are in the number 1, number 2, 3, and 4, and 8. And here we have these words that are in these paragraphs. So we have to match them to see which is the synonym of the other word. For example, the first word is manage. And in the lecture, we have in the first paragraph, in the paragraph number 1, it says, they help us to build trust with people outside of the family and learn how to compromise, to share and to manage conflicts. All right? And then in the in the in the paragraph number 5, we have friendships are unpredictable and difficult to deal with. All right? So in the paragraph number 6, we have this, and as you can see, deal with and manage have the same meaning. So the answer for the number 1 is letter I. Manage and deal with. All right? Please do this, and when you finish, we'll check the answers all together. Okay, now let's check the answers. For the word number 2, that is allow, the synonym is the one letter H, permit. Allow and permit mean the same. Then give is the same as provide. Then eager will be the same as excited. Impacting, its synonym is affecting. The synonym of connection will be tie. And the synonym of carried out, in this case, will be conducted. Then for the word found, we have that discovered means the same. A synonym of teenagers will be adolescents, and a synonym of nurturing will be fostering. Right? Well done. So check your answers. If you have any mistake, please correct it. And if you didn't understand something, send me a message so that I can help you. Very well. Now, let's move on to the exercise number 2. Here we have some sentences with some underlined words. You are going to rewrite these sentences using synonyms of these underlined words or expressions. Right? For example, here you have few teenagers are concerned about the negative effects of our hyper-connected world. So, well, we know that teenagers, another word for teenagers is adolescents. So you can say few adolescents, and then you have to look for synonyms for these words. One advice that I can give you is that you enter to wordreference.com and you select the option of English synonyms, and that can help you. All right. There are other words that are here on the exercise number 1. For example, here we have connections, here we have friendship, all right? So please do the exercise, pause the video, do the exercise, and when you finish, we'll continue. All right. Now, let's move on to the exercise number 3. In this case, we have here a text that has some repeated words. You have to identify them, and then you have to replace them with suitable synonyms. For example, here we have the human brain is constantly changing, and neuroscientist Gary Small believes it is changing further because of our new technologies. Alright, so what you have to do is that you have to rewrite the text, and instead of writing changing twice, just write it once and then write a synonym in the second option. Alright, do it, and when you finish, we'll continue. Okay, now let's move on to the next page. Here we have simple and progressive verb forms, right? Simple verb forms tell us that an action or state occurs, okay? So they just tell us that it happens. They don't give us a lot of details, they just confirm us that something happens. They can include an action or a state which is complete, habitual, or factual. But progressive verb forms emphasize the duration or describe an incomplete or ongoing action. Right? So in the progressive verb forms, we emphasize the duration of an action, or we're describing an action that is not complete or that is ongoing at this moment. For example, in my case, at this moment, I am recording this video. It is not complete, it is ongoing. Now, we can use the simple form and the progressive form for different tenses. For example, for present perfect, for past perfect, and for future perfect, we could use simple form, verb forms or progressive verb forms, and this changes. For example, in the present perfect simple, we have an example here that says, connections provided by social networking have proven to be beneficial. All right, so here we can say that these connections, they have already been proven. So this is a fact that they are beneficial. But here that we have a sentence in present perfect progressive, we have most young people have been using technology since they were small. In this case, we are emphasizing the duration. Also, Like it says they have been using, it means that they haven't stopped using it. They have been using this since they were very small. They are using it right now, and they will use technology in the future. So it is an incomplete action because they are doing it right now. Then with the past perfect simple, remember that the only difference with present perfect and past perfect in the structure is that instead of has or have, you use has, right? Right here. Young people who have spent a lot of time online found their exam results suffer. All right. As you can see again, these people had spent, so they did the action. This action occurred. But then we have the past perfect progressive that says one young person admitted he had been chatting to friends online all night. All right, so he, in this case, we are emphasizing again the duration of the action. He had been chatting to friends online all night, right? And then for the future perfect simple, the difference will be that now we're going to use will, but also we're going to use have, always have, not has in this case, and the verb in past participle. Like here, a new kind of social networking will have become popular before the end of the decade. In this case, we're saying that this action will happen, that this action will occur because it is in the future. Mhm. And we're specifying that by the end of the decade, this action will have happened. Okay, that it will have finished, that the new social networking will have become popular. But if we say that it is in progress, like here, young people all over the world will be chatting online to their friends this evening. So again, we're emphasizing the duration this evening, and we're also saying that it's an ongoing action. Well, in this case, like it is in the future, in the future, this evening, this action will be going on, right? It's not going to be just an action or state that occurs. It will be an ongoing action, okay? Now, something very important is that verbs describing states are not used in progressive form. Stative verbs are not used in progressive forms. Verbs like the one that give us perception, preferences, and mental states. A mental state could be how you feel, what you hear. Perception will be verbs like hear, believe. Also with preferences, when you say like, dislike, love, hate, all right? With your preferences, you cannot use the progressive form. You have to use the simple form, all right? Very good. If you have any question about this topic, please send me a message, all right? Now, here in the exercise number 1, you're gonna call your classmates on Microsoft Teams. You're gonna make a video meeting, and you're gonna discuss these pairs of examples in the simple past and progressive verb forms. I already explained you, but you have to discuss this again. Why is a simple or progressive verb form used in each one? Why do we use the simple form here and the progressive form here? The same for the rest of the sentence. Okay, so pause the video, call your classmates, discuss these sentences, and when you finish, we'll continue. Okay, let's move on. Well done. Now, in the exercise number 2, we have that you have to circle the correct verb form to complete the texts. Right? So you have to read this text, and according to the context, you have to decide if you're going to use the simple form or the progressive form. For example, in the number 1, we have in recent months, researchers around the world have been carrying out, because this is an ongoing action. We're talking that in recent months, it could be 2 months ago, but we're still doing that action right now, because they have been carrying out studies to find out whether social networking can help or hinder the social lives of people like April. Okay, please do it. Pause the video, complete the exercise, and when you finish, we'll check the answers. All right, then in the number 2, let's check the answers. Sorry. In the number 2, we have so far the research has shown. In this case, like we're saying so far, we're saying until today. So at this moment, the research has shown that social networking and online learning environments are able to help shy people to form connections, especially those with low social skills. But it is not yet known whether social networking has helped them to connect better with the real world or has taken them even further away from it. Right? Because we're still talking about this moment. So far, until today, we don't know that if it has helped or if it has taken them to uh, away from the real world. Okay, it is not just social situations in which shy students like Emir can struggle. School can also be a problem. However, it seems that social networking sites may be able to help. The results of some Danish research showed that shy students had benefit from the use of well-known social networking sites during the study. The students had been using it in class to ask anonymous questions to the teacher, who had then replied via computer. At the beginning of the study, shy students say they had been lacking in confidence in class for some time, but at the end of the study, they had begun to feel more confident about their learning. As a result, researchers have said that they hope more schools and universities will have adopted this technique by the end of the year. Yes. Okay, students, please check your answers, correct them if you have any mistake. If you didn't understand why one answer was like this, please let me know so that I can explain again. Okay, then in the writing section, sorry, here in the, yes, sorry, in the writing section, we have, you're going to learn about different levels of formality in writing and how languages changes. You are then going to rewrite an informal email so that it has to appropriate level of formality and tone for the reader, a college professor, right? So here we're going to talk about formality in writing. Let's see. First we have, when writing a text, it is important to think carefully about who will read it as this will determine the level of formality. So how do we know how formal should we be? How formal should my text be? Well, it depends on who will read it. If your text is going to be read by a friend, well, it obviously doesn't have to be formal. But if your text is going to be read by a teacher, well, it does have to be formal. Okay, let's see. Here they tell us that we can show formality through the tone, language used, punctuation, and the use of noun phrases like there was a rapid increase in numbers, and verb phrases. Numbers increase rapidly. Okay, as you can see, we're saying the same thing, but here we're using noun phrases. There was a rapid increase in numbers, and here we're using verb phrases. Numbers increased rapidly. Okay, for example, the tone. It can be a formal tone for formal or academic texts. If it is a neutral text, we could use a tone polite but friendly. And if it is an informal text, well, the tone will be similar to speaking. Then, talking about the voice, we can use passive voice in informal text. Sorry, this is most common. In neutral, we could use passive and active voice, and in informal, well, we normally use active voice. All right. Then, in a formal text, we use more noun phrases like this. And in neutral, we use more verb phrases like this. This also happens in informal text. Also, something very important is that in formal text, we don't use any slang, idioms, or phrasal verbs. What's this? Well, slang will be these phrases that we know in English, but that we only use normally with friends, that they don't literally mean what you're saying. For example, when you say, what's up? We know that this is a way to say hi, hello, how are you? But this is a slang, all right? An idiom will be a phrase that, similar to slang, they don't mean they don't actually mean what we're saying. For example, if you say it's a piece of cake, we know that we're saying that something that you're gonna do is very, very easy, but it doesn't mean that literally what you're gonna do is a piece of cake, right? This is an idiom. And a phrasal verb will be something like give up, hang up, all these phrasal verbs. We normally don't use any of these with formal text, formal or academic texts. We can use them mostly with informal text, like when you're chatting with your friends or when you're sending an email to a friend from another country. And in nutshell, we could use some phrasal verbs, but we don't use slang and idioms. Very good. Finally, about talking about contractions and abbreviations, well, we don't use these in formal or academic texts. For example, if you want to say, if you want to ask, what is your name? In a formal text, you say, what is your name? But in a neutral or informal text, you can say, what's your name? You see the difference? That we can contract the what and is. For example, what or what is for formal. Okay? Remember that in English, we have many ways to contract verbs. And well, that's it about this topic. I recommend you to read it. If you need to play this part of the video again, study it so that you can understand pretty well this formality topic because you're gonna need it for the next exercise. Okay? Well, first let's practice. Here we have that you have to read the text and you have to decide on the level of formality of each. If the texts are formal academic, or if they are neutral or informal. Then you have to see what relationship do you think the writer has with the reader. If it is a friend, if it is a teacher, if it is a business that you are trying to contact to buy something. And then, well, you have to underline the features noted in the table in the formality box that gives you this information? Well, instead of underlining the features in the table, in your notebook, you're gonna write this. You're gonna write tone, and you remember that tone can be formal, polite but friendly, and similar to speaking. Then you're gonna write voice. We could use passive voice, passive and active voice, or just active voice. Then we're also gonna talk about slang and idioms, if we use it, if we more or less use it, or if we don't use it. And finally, contractions and abbreviations. Again, if we use them, more or less, or not. So what you're gonna, with this, you're gonna decide the level of formality that you're using for each text. For example, in the text number 1, it says, it is said that an increase in online communications will further have an impact on family life. Sorry, but both positively and negatively. Although research has yet to show exactly what these effects will be. So, over here, would you say that the tone was formal, polite, or friendly, or similar to speaking? That's right, it is formal. Then, are they using passive voice, passive and active, or just active? Well, at the beginning we have it is said, this is passive, but only here we use the passive, so the rest is in active. Whereas in passive and active voice. Are we using any slang or idioms? No, we're not using slang or idioms, nor we're using contractions and abbreviations. So we could say that the level of formality of text number 1 is formal academic. Yes, so you're gonna copy this in your notebook 4 times, for one for each text. You can just write the correct answers. You don't have to write them all, but as you wish. So that you can write the correct level of formality. If it's a formal academic text, if it's a neutral, or if it's an informal text. Okay? So please pause the video, do the exercise, and when we finish, we'll continue. All right, if you're finished, now let's continue with the writing tasks. Here it says, you are going to write an email to your college professor requesting a meeting to discuss an assignment you are having trouble with. You have been in the college professor's class for 6 months and have spoken to each other face to face several times. So we know that the relationship with the college professor, well, it's a good relationship. You have been in the class for 6 months, you have already spoken with him several times, but he still is your college professor. So what you have to do is first, well, this is the audience for your email will be at the college professor. In the context is that you need to write an email to request for a meeting, and well, the purpose of this task is to apply an appropriate level of formality to a real life task. Okay, so this is the purpose of this activity. Then, and the first thing you're gonna do before starting to write your email is that you're gonna read this other email between friends setting up a meeting. So you're gonna read it, but you have to underline the language that says the informal tone of the message. Obviously, like this email is between friends, they're gonna use an informal tone, but you have to underline what tells you that it's an informal tone. For example, at the very beginning we have, hi Yoli, How are you? How was your weekend? Mine was hectic as usual. Well, in this case, hectic as usual is not a very formal phrase. So you have to underline other phrases like this one. Okay? Please do it. Pause the video, and when you finish, we'll continue. All right. If you finish, now you're gonna start writing your email. Here they give you a set of steps so that you can do it the most effectively possible. For example, first you have to brainstorm. They ask us, how would you need to change the email above, this email, how would you change it to make it appropriate for a college professor? Well, obviously you will have to change some phrases, some words, because it is not very formal. You can think about the tone, you can think about the language, and also about the punctuation. All right? When you finish thinking, now you're gonna plan. You're gonna decide what information you should include in your email to your college professor. And then you have to decide how the email should be organized and the tone that you should use, as this will determine the language and punctuation you use. Finally, well, you're gonna start writing. Write your email in around 100 words. Make sure you use an appropriate tone. Check that you use any simple or progressive verb forms correctly and use synonyms where necessary to avoid repetition. And create a cohesive text. Begin and end your email with appropriate expressions. Okay? Remember that there are some expressions that are more appropriate when you're writing a formal email. All right? That you can use at the beginning of the email, like dear professor. Well, maybe that is a formal way to say it, or maybe it is an informal way to say it. You have to check that. For example, also she ends her email, Ali ends her email by saying, hopefully see you soon. In English, we have some phrases that are more formal than this. So you have to be careful with this too. Okay? So do it, students, when you take your time. If you need help, you can call me or you can send me a message and I will be glad to help you. But you have to do it. Okay? And when you finish, well, that's going to be it for this class. Thank you for your attention and I hope to see you tomorrow. All right? Take care and goodbye.